This video is intended to get you started on your project, your Pretty About Me project, or any project really. But right away, whenever you have a project and you have a list of requirements that you're supposed to do, it can be really overwhelming. So here's some ideas to try and get you going and get you unstuck. So the first thing that I would do is lay out your ideas in some kind of format. Now I've done it here in Word just because it might be easier to just draw it out on a piece of paper, kind of a layout of what you intend to do. But the nice thing about using it on Word is that I'm also bringing in my pictures. And so I'm kind of thinking about this website and I'm thinking about things that are required. And so I'm going to, it's just like pseudocoding if you did that in CIS 120. So the idea is kind of pre-planning, or we also call this process in web development wireframing, where we're sort of laying out ahead of time the design or the ideas, because it's much easier to do it drawing or on as like a Word document here. So here's just my putting some ideas of the assignment together to kind of gather my thoughts and make it easy before I start putting it into code. You can do it however you want, but this is just what I did for the example. The requirement said I needed an index.html, so this is sort of a rough sketch of what I think I might be able to do. Hobbies.html, same idea. I have a navigation that's required, so that's going to go on both pages. The link to the external site, I'm going to call it Good Day, but just because this is my own notations, I'm just going to kind of document for my own interpretation or my own memory sake where that link is going to go to. So there's that website I'm going to link to for that part of the assignment. I highlighted these to show that they're headers because I know that headings are important. I would probably want to put more content here, but again, if I write the content here, it's much easier than trying to do it when I'm trying to figure out how to put this in HTML. So I don't know what CAM was supposed to be for, so I'm just going to erase that. Anyway, so in the process of doing this too, I've also made my life a little bit easier in that I've gathered the images, and what I did was I put those into my folder here, my Pretty About Me folder, and I not only copied and pasted those images here in my Word document just so I would have them kind of for a visual while I'm pre-planning out my web page. I also put those images here in my Pretty About Me folder along with my Word document that I created. So this is all kind of one project that's in my Pretty About Me, and now I already have my images there. So I've got a good idea what I want my website to look like, kind of, you know, and it can expand from here, but this is much easier to build from here rather than looking at a blank, let's just do a blank file. I mean, you get the idea, right? So index, I have to do something different, index2.html. I'm just trying to get a point across. If I had to build a website from here, that's a little overwhelming. So now if I can say, all right, so now I got to build a website and this is what it looks like, it's just easier, but I leave that up to you. All right, so now I'm in, let me delete this because that was just for demonstration. Where's delete? There it is. All right, yes, please move it to the trash. All right, so this is where I left off. I had the Hello World project already open from the prior videos that we've done. So at this point, I could do several things. I already have the Pretty About Me folder started, so I want to utilize that folder. And remember, everything in this folder is a project, and only the project files are going to exist in here. So I could say File, and then Open Folder, or Add a Project. I think Open Folder, let's see what that'll do. If I go to Open Folder, and I navigate to my Pretty About Me, then I should get a new window, which is good. Eventually, it should be coming up. There it is, just took a while. All right, so there's that folder with some files and so forth. Just for demonstration, I'm going to close this out and show that I could also file, add a project folder to this current selection, so this current window. Again, that Pretty About Me folder. Recognize when I'm opening up a folder, I'm not getting all the files because it's looking for the folder name, the project folder. And so I'm not opening individual files, I'm opening up that project folder. So that's why I have the word select folder. So don't freak out and say, where are all my pictures? I have them in this folder. They're still there. And I know that when I choose select folder, there's those pictures. So here I have the ability to work on two projects at one time if you'd like to do that. To me, that's a little overwhelming at this stage especially. So if this happens to you and you want to clean up your workspace here, you could always right-click on the project you're not working on. And I'm going to choose Remove Project Folder. So I have just the folder that I'm working on that I'm interested in. All right, so kind of an FYI if this helps you too. There's this little arrow. And if you need more real estate, that arrow collapses and then reopens, so you can open and close that project pane if you're interested in doing that. Sometimes that's helpful. So let's see. So now we need to get started. So I need to create, well, I'm going to create both of these pages. I need an index page and a hobbies.html page. So these temporary files, I'm not going to worry about myself about them too much because those are just system files. Anytime you see this tilde, that's just the system creating some temporary files. I don't really care about it, and I'm just not going to pay attention to them. I'm going to pretend like they didn't exist at all. So now I'm going to either choose File and New File, or you can just right-click on the project name and choose New File. One of them needs to be index.html, so I know I need to do that. I'm going to just go ahead and create my, let's do the HTML tab. So I've got that started, and I need a title about me, maybe. Okay, and then, oh good, no errors found, so I'm validating as I go. That's nice. Okay, so now I'm going to create my hobbies. So right click, choose New File and hobbies.html. Okay, and then I'll do my HTML tab, and these are my hobbies. Okay, save that. No errors found. That's good news. Okay. I also know that I have to create a style sheet because that was one of the requirements. So I'm going to right click on New File, and I'm going to create a style sheet, this styles.css. And so now I've got 3 tabs open, which I can click on and scroll through. That's cool. Okay. What else would I do at this point? Well, I know I need to link the style sheet to each one of these. So I'm going to get that out of the way. So if I type in link and hit tab, neat, it already does the style sheet for me, so I don't need to worry about that. Relationship equals style sheet. The href is definitely not correct. I don't know where that found that or whatever came up, so I need to make sure I change this to styles. And then I'm going to copy that and put it into my hobbies page. So I'm just kind of getting the project started, right? Kind of getting it set up. Okay. Let me get some of the simple things out of the way. I need to have a heading of some type that says about me, and maybe I didn't put it here, but I also want one that says hobbies. So I said enjoy playing tennis. So I don't have to follow my wireframe because I'm already kind of thinking about something a little differently. So let me just do this. So I'm going to indent H1 tab. I'm on my hobbies page, so I'm going to type in my hobbies. Here's where I kind of went off script from what I did here, but that's okay because it's still just a guideline, right? I don't have to adhere to it directly. It's just to make my life a little bit easier. So on my hobbies page, so I'm going to click on index.html. I'm going to tab because I have to do proper indenting. H1 tab, it's going to make my H1 tags, open and closing tags for me. And so I'm going to put about me. That seems good. Okay, the next thing I would do if I were in this situation is I would, let's see, I'm going to right click on one of these files and view in browser. And it's on my other screen. So let me pull that over for a visual. There we go. All right, so I can see that my About Me page is working well. Okay, notice that this path is my desktop path. So this is exactly where my index file is. I could either go into hobbies again and choose view in browser, or I could just make my life a little bit simpler and just type in hobbies here. There's my hobbies page. All right, so I'm just making sure things are working. If you just kind of do things in baby steps, one step at a time to make sure things are working the way you expect, then it makes your job a little bit easier. So what I would do next is just, and this is just for my own to know that I've got everything started correctly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my style sheet and I'm going to do something really basic. I'm not going to keep it, but I'm just going to do something like, oops, let's see, no oopsing. My keyboard is in Spanish, sorry, I don't know why it defaults to that. So, okay, so now I'm trying to do an open and closing curly brace, and I'm going to do background color. Notice that I'm getting some help from my editor here, background color, and I'm going to do something just random for now. This isn't what I'm really going to keep, but I'm going to do background color green. Notice I get a warning, orange or yellow is a warning, and it's just trying to let me know that you're setting a background color. Make sure that all of your text is still readable. In other words, if you had green text and a green background, that could be a problem, right? So the warnings aren't an issue as far as validation. They're just that, warnings. Hey, be careful. But I don't really care. I don't have any text that's green, so this is okay warning. I'm happy with it. I'm going to progress further. And so I'm going to save this. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to refresh my page and make sure that the page goes green. I'm going to do that on both of my pages. And the reason I'm doing that is for, in case it's not otherwise obvious, let me change this back to index. And the index is also turning green, because now what I'm doing is in a very simple manner testing my style sheet to make sure that I hooked those all up or wired those all up properly. So I know that both my index and my hobbies page is working and that it's hooked up to my style sheet. In other words, if I had accidentally wrote the word style here instead of styles, well, there is no style.css, correct? So if I come back into my hobbies page and refresh it, and I'm like, oh no, my background isn't green. It's supposed to be, well, I don't have something wired up correctly. I don't have something working correctly. So then I would, oh, I changed, okay, that's supposed to be styles. That's right. All right, so obviously your validator is not going to correct that. It doesn't know any better. All right, so also notice that we are gathering a bunch of files for this project. So all of these files, except for these temporary ones, are relevant to this project. So in order to put an image in my index, so if you look at my wireframe, I have a picture of myself next. So I'm going to come in here and put in, I know that's an image tag, and I'm going to hit tab, and the source is the name of this file, PNG, and then I'm going to hit tab, which takes me right into the alt pic of me. Maybe I don't need that part. Okay. And so what I also want to reiterate to you is, well, let's see, I guess the next thing I would do is test it to make sure that it's working. What happened to my browser? I lost my browser. That's not it. Okay, so I'm going to, I don't know what I did with it. I'm sure it's here somewhere, but it's no big deal because I can choose view in browser, and there it is. So my image is working. So really important to remember here that in order for this web page to work, I have to make sure that this image is in the same folder that my index file is in. In other words, everything is kind of telling the browser from this location, I'm the index, I'm in this folder. In this folder, you will find the image which is supposed to be plopped in here. For example, kind of as a alternative to that in Word, all I had to do was copy and paste my image into my Word document, and that becomes part of this Word document. If I give somebody this Word document, all of these images are included. Well, that's not how it works in HTML. All of the files exist by themselves, but because of the HTML tags, everything gets pulled together when the browser tries to render it. So what I would do if I were creating this site is I would personally do all of my HTML first. So remember, HTML is just the structure. And so I would get all my structure working the way I wanted to first. So then if I were to continue on with this example, I would put my links in there. I'd put my footer the way I'm supposed to. I would put in my navigation at the top. I'd do all of the HTML part. But then after I'm done with that, and that's the structure, then I can come back in to my style sheet and start changing the way it actually looks. For example, here is another little shortcut for you. Hopefully this will be helpful. If I spread this out a little bit. All right, so I'm going to make some styles for my structure. So this is difficult for me to kind of go back. Okay, so I need to click on index and, oh right, I have an H1. I'm going to click on styles. If you would like, you can click on this tab. Doesn't matter which one, but I'm going to click on the styles tab. Click and hold my mouse button down. Move down. You can see that my cursor is changing a little bit. I've got that little rectangle at the bottom of my arrow here, moving my tab around. Also look in the background, you can see that there's a shadow that's changing. So here I have a shadow that's up and down, here I have one across. So if I let go now, I would have both of my files showing up and down from each other, which may work for you. I personally like to have them sideways, so I'm going to move mine to a sideways position so I can have them side by side. And to me, that's much easier to work on because I can see the HTML that I'm trying to give design to. So optional, just if that helps you, yay. If not, boo. Okay, so I'm going to change this to gray. Remember, my icon needs to be an X and not a blue, so I'm going to save that. Come back into my page. Both of those should now be gray. Yay! All right, and so from there I can do whatever it is I need to do. So I'm going, let's see, I have an H1 tag on both of these. Incidentally, you could put 3 of these side by side too if you wanted to. There's not a limit. I could also pull this one down here. So, you know, whatever works for you, you've got ways to pull those around. So maybe I need to see both of them at the same time. Whatever you need to do. So I see both of these have an H1 tag, and I want to make them, going to change the text color to green because I'm kind of having a green day today. I'm getting some color errors, not errors, warnings, but I'm not concerned about warnings. I don't have any errors, so I'm good. And now I can come back and check that my style worked. So that's how I would go about, what do they say again? Eating the elephant one piece at a time. I don't really like elephant, maybe the steak. One piece at a time, I don't know, whatever your story is. But you get the idea. If you take it from something, just sort of build it up so you don't intimidate yourself. So kind of lay it out, whether it be in this format or whether it be drawing it out on a sheet of paper, just kind of rough sketching it. But if you put your ideas down on paper first, then it's much easier when you get into your document to, instead of kind of figure, oh, where am I gonna, how, now at least you sort of have a idea of how you want it to look and what you're going to do with it, and then it's much easier to start putting, oh right, that's a heading. Let's see, a heading is H tags. I'm going to use an H1 through an H6 tag. So it just makes it that much easier. Now how do I put in an image? Oh yeah, that's an image tag. So just not, you don't have to do it this way. It was just my recommendation. And then when it's time to turn in your assignment, you now have all of these files together in one project. So there's no files from other projects or your Hello World project. All of these files pertain to this project. If you go into, I don't think you can do it from here. No, I thought you might be able to. If you go into your file folder, File Explorer, I think they call it, and now I'm finding my Pretty About Me. I need to turn this in. So what I would do is I would right click on it and I would choose Send To, and then Compressed Folder. See where it says Compressed Zip Folder. And if I click on it, now I have a folder with a little zipper on it. So that's one file that you can upload into Canvas. And then I'm going to delete this just to scare you. Oh, I can't delete it because I have everything open. So, okay, I can't. I get it. So let me close everything out just to demonstrate my point. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to close out Atom. And so it's time for me to unzip it. In other words, myself, the teacher, or if somebody gives you a file like this, you can just double click on it and hit Extract All. And then I'm going to click on Extract. And then if I go back to my desktop, I'm going to see both the zipped folder, but also the uncompressed folder. And so if I open up this folder now, there is all of the files that were submitted. Notice the temporary files didn't come over. And just kind of a final FYI to that, and I see students get tripped on this sometimes too. If you open up, like I'm sitting here on the Pretty About Me folder, if I double click on it, I can see the folder there. Notice there's some kind of different color here to my window saying, hey, this is should I extract this folder? But if you're not paying attention to that and you open up the Pretty About Me folder and then you try to open up, like I'm going to try and open up index.html, and it's going to open up in the other window. So let me fumble through this and bring this back. What you're going to see is, how come my picture didn't churn up? I know it worked. I can't. Well, because these are all compressed folders, the browser can't see the compressed version. And so remember, all of these files are independent of each other and they rely on the browser to pull them all together. So if you're trying to open your index file from a zipped file, it's not going to work. And also see the CSS isn't working either. So be sure, if you are working in any of these documents, that you are in the uncompressed folder. And now when I open up the index file, everything should be working on the other screen. Why does it always revert back to my other monitor? So let me pull that back over. And now you can see that it's working because it's not in the compressed folder. So hopefully that gets you motivated and excited to start working on your Pretty About Me projects. I'm excited to see what you all come up with.